Today on the CTV News at 5, a Claresholm woman pleads guilty in connection to the death of a Vulcan senior, but a judge won't accept her plea. Plus, the Minister of Aboriginal Affairs and Northern Development is now an honorary chief of the Piikani First Nation. And Health Canada is looking into the impact of wind turbines.
With Jackie Scantlebury.
Good afternoon. It was an interesting day in court for a Claresholm woman charged in connection to the death of a Vulcan senior. Bobby Joe Parks pleaded guilty to obstructing a peace officer today, but the judge didn't accept it. Kayla Carr explains.
This is Bobby Joe Parks in January, a few days after she was charged with obstructing a peace officer and being an accessory to murder. The charges were laid after police found the body of 77-year-old Otto Bunty Luce. Her common-law husband, Timmy Angle, was charged with first-degree murder. In Fort Macleod Court, Parks' lawyer entered a guilty plea to the obstruction charge, and the statement of facts were read by the Crown prosecutor. Court heard in January, police came to Parks' home looking for Angle. She told police he wasn't there, but he actually was upstairs. The judge did not accept Parks' guilty plea because he wasn't sure if she did anything wrong. Parks' lawyer says it's not an offense to lie to a police officer unless they're trying to perform their duties.
If they had said to Ms. Parks, look, we're investigating a murder, we think Mr. Engel is involved or we want to arrest him, is he here? And if she had replied no, then that would constitute the offense of obstruction.
Michael Dietrich says they entered the guilty plea as part of a plea deal.
Initially, Ms. Parks was also charged with being an accessory to the murder, and she definitely was not. So we persuaded the Crown to withdraw that charge. And now this left the other charge of obstruction. We did complete our end of the bargain by tendering a guilty plea.
The court case was adjourned for 1 week. Dietrich is hoping the Crown will either withdraw the charge or enter a stay of proceedings. He says his client is ready for this to be over.
Mr. Engel will be dealt with, I'm sure, according to law, and Ms. Parks can get away from this person, Mr. Engel. She wants to get on with her life and start anew. We all need a new start sometimes.
Kayla Carr, CTV News, Lethbridge.
Engel is scheduled to appear in court next week. And it's been 1 month since a nursing student went missing in Medicine Hat, and police say they're still trying to piece together what may have happened. 23-year-old Amy Lewis was last seen June 11th. Days later, police charged this man, 34-year-old Jarrison Stepanski, with murder after the fact in Lewis's disappearance. But there's still no sign of her. Search efforts were suspended nearly 2 weeks ago because police said they'd followed all viable leads. Investigators are waiting for some evidence to be processed and are following up on the relevance of some new tips from the public.
We're hopeful that we'll have some resolution, within the coming weeks, but we don't know. If once the understanding of how this investigation has come about and, the challenges that have existed in it and how the whole thing came together, people will understand the volume and the need to kind of piece some of those pieces, just like everything else. It's a big puzzle, and our responsibility is to put the puzzle together.
Medicine Hat police say there's still a significant amount of information to be processed and verified, and the investigation has been scaled down. Officers are continually working on the case. Now, police charged 2 people in connection with an early morning stabbing in South Lethbridge. At midnight, police responded to a report along the 400 block of 5th Street South that a 32-year-old man had been stabbed following an argument with 2 people. The victim was bleeding from his face and arm and was treated for non-life-threatening injuries. 21-year-old Todd Cryinghead and 29-year-old Ashley Marie Scout, both of Lethbridge, faced several charges and both appeared in court today. Now, 4 people were taken to hospital after a crash on the Piikani First Nation. The 2 vehicles were sideswiped near Range Road 280 around 10 o'clock last night. A man driving one vehicle and the female driver and passenger of the other vehicle were all taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Cause of the accident is still under investigation. And we're learning more about a 72-year-old hiker who was rescued after spending a night in the Rockies near Cranbrook. The hiker was found Sunday after an extensive search. He was last seen around 4:30 in the afternoon Saturday when he was separated from his hiking partner while climbing in the Bull Mountain area. 20-member group searched the ground, and the RCMP police dog team located the missing hiker finally high on Bull Mountain around 8 p.m. Sunday. The 72-year-old was taken to hospital by helicopter, and other than some dehydration and a little weakness, he's still okay. Well, small unmanned remote control aircraft will someday be buzzing through the sky above southeastern Alberta. Transport Canada has given the Canadian Centre for Unmanned Vehicle Systems permission to apply for restricted airspace around the community of Foremost. The nonprofit company says it hopes to attract corporations willing to pay to train operators to safely test fly small planes and helicopters. And it says the drones could be used for a variety of non-military purposes, including checking for pipeline spills and even wildfires. Dory Rossiter is here, and Dory, we could expect some showers late Friday and Saturday, but otherwise still some great conditions.
Yeah, it is. It's a little humid today. Our temperature add on another about 3 degrees, but it's not as sticky as Winnipeg. They're at 32 degrees, but the humidex is at 42. So it's always worse somewhere else. So enjoy the sunshine and the heat, and I'll have a little bit of damp details coming up in a couple of minutes.
We knew it was inevitable. Thanks, Dory.
Yeah.
Well, the Minister of Aboriginal Affairs and Northern Development is now an honorary chief of the Piikani First Nation. John Duncan was honored at a ceremony this afternoon. First Nations members say the honor was bestowed upon him for his efforts to building better relations between the government and Aboriginal people. The Vancouver Island North MP was given a full eagle feather ceremonial headdress and a traditional Blackfoot name. He's going to be known as White Buffalo.
I had lots of thoughts about what they might call me, and I never thought of that one, but it's highly appropriate, I think. I've been to one ceremony like this before, and that was for the Prime Minister. Never thinking in my wildest dreams that this would ever be something that would be personalized. I'm honored.
It's very important because we need the federal government, the provincial government to be there on our side as we're moving our projects forward before the nation. And it has been, like today was just a really momentous celebration.
Well, it's billed as a clean source of energy, but could wind-generated power cause health problems to people who live nearby? Health Canada has announced it's looking into that very issue. The agency will study the relationship between wind turbine noise and health effects reported by people who live near them. Josh Crowd reports.
Gerald Bissett has lived near Somerset his entire life. He sees the positive effects in his community from the development of the nearby St. Leon wind farm nearly 10 years ago.
It's created some local employment, brought some higher skilled jobs for some people.
But he says over the last 4 years, he and his family have developed health problems they didn't experience before. Bissett was diagnosed with a blood disorder and has headaches. He says his daughter developed food allergies. He questions whether it's a coincidence or whether it's related to the wind turbines.
They were kind of, promoted as a healthy thing, but really no proof that there is no side effects.
Questions Health Canada is setting out to answer. The agency says it's aware of health-related complaints from people who live near wind farms. It says research will be done on the issue by studying 2,000 homes, which are located close to wind farms across Canada. Health Canada says it will look at the effects of low-frequency noise generated by the turbines. Diane Bissett says she's glad the study is being done.
We've all been wondering if a few issues haven't popped up from it, and I think I'm happy they are investigating it.
Gerald Bissett says he's not against wind turbines. He just wants to know if it's the reason for any of his family's health problems.
The negatives aren't proven. We'd rather keep the positive outweighing the negative at this point until there's actually evidence that there is a connection with illnesses.
A Southern Alberta company is a step closer to realizing their dream of establishing a commercial thebaine poppy industry here in Canada. After 5 years of working to get a license, API Labs has now started field trials. If successful, the poppy would be used to produce painkillers and other pharmaceuticals. Terry Boat reports.
This test plot isn't large, and it may not look like much right now, but for Glenn Metzler, it signifies the beginning of what could potentially be a multi-billion-dollar industry, growing and processing thebaine poppies in Canada.
This is a large industry on a world scale. You know, there's over 20 countries in the world that are growing poppies commercially at this point. France, Australia, the UK, Czechoslovakia, these countries have been growing poppies for over 40 years for the pharmaceutical industry. So what we're doing really isn't new in that capacity. It's new in the capacity that we've brought it to Canada.
The thebaine poppy is non-narcotic in the plant form, but through extensive processing, it can be used to produce painkillers and other pharmaceuticals. Because 4 different government departments are involved, it's taken Metzler and his company 6 years of hard work and hard lobbying to get to this stage.
Obviously, whenever you go to government and say that you're interested in cultivating poppies, there's going to be some questions that need to be answered. So, you know, we've worked with Health Canada Office of Controlled Substances to alleviate any concerns or issues and address any concerns.
Last May, the company was granted a license to begin field testing. This site contains 60 test plots to determine how different varieties of the plant respond to soil conditions, frost, dramatic changes in temperature, and southern Alberta's wind. Over the next 2 years, the company is planning to increase the number and size of these plots. The field studies are only one aspect of launching a new industry in Canada. Over the next few years, API Labs will also be doing more engineering studies and fine-tuning the extraction process.
The inside the pod actually is.
Despite a cool, wet spring, the plants have been responding well. An encouraging sign for southern Alberta farmers who could stand to earn 7 times as much money growing poppies compared with traditional crops. Terry Vogt, CTV News, near Lethbridge.
Lethbridge's exhibition park is gearing up for what's expected to be a noisy and powerful weekend. Park officials released the details of next month's Hot August weekend this afternoon. The 2-day event features monster trucks and concerts in Pioneer Park. The trucks are coming from across North America and include the General, Sheer Insanity, the Maniac, and the Pro Tough machines. Organizers say they're expecting a large turnout for the event's 3rd year.
And we equated back to 2 years ago when we did a one-night performance at Whoop Up Days, and we had like 4,000 people in the stands for monster trucks. And we knew that drew the gate there, so we thought, you know what, Hot August weekend, a little bit loud and proud, you know, some good concerts. And so now we've got our 3rd Hot August weekend with Monster Truck Mania.
Hot August weekend runs Friday, August the 10th and Saturday, August the 11th. Tickets go on sale Monday morning at CEP Automotive, Gas King, and the UFA. On the markets today, both West Texas and the dollar rebounded slightly. Here are the day's final numbers.